Let me get my. Divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to the national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind of their forefathers, divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive the divine rights as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth. It comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive the divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot and oppose under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that I know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is the free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of a national government, gold and silver and commerce belong to the citizens alone. Without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government. I am dependent on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold. Against that, they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, and peace. Free National Constitution of the that's United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mind back to their own national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issues and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger. the same as the word color alludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honor thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners, who were at the time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional laws that was in force since 1774 declare all men was equal and free. And if all men are declared by a free national constitution to be free and equal, since the Constitution has never been changed, there is no need for application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that it is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized, prosperous governments of the world. But if above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in the North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do hereby believe that this administration of government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to rule all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin, and there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from the sinful ways of action, and the deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerners for all these great misuse. But I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet.
Islam, peace and love. I want to say peace and love to 9L, Black Lion 64. Brother Salim L. Peace and love to everybody. Hope everybody had a good week and is doing amazing.
Islam.
Transitioning to where we left off in a book called Gnostic Astrology. Brother Benjamin Bay, if you want to pick it up, I believe you left off on 12 Saviors or 12 Masters.
Yeah. Oh, well, 12 saviors. The 12 saviors or 12 master angels, gods, devas, Buddhas who are human beings who elevated themselves to the degree of sophistication and wisdom that they are in charge of the zodiacal sign. It is their duty to deliver the influence of that cellular force to all the creatures that exist in the inferior levels, and to guide them to assist them. The 12 saviors, 12 virtues related. Yo, anybody say something?
No, I understand that.
Related to Aries, there are certain virtues, certain capacities that we receive, and in particular, it is the potential for penance, or the gift that penance can deliver onto the soul. This is the capacity to withstand suffering, to transfer it and make it into something beautiful, the way great saints and martyrs have always done. This capacity comes through Aries, the viral force of the Lamb, the Christ, whose very essence is sacrifice. Do you follow that? If the Lamb, the Christ, if existence is determined by the love, by sacrifice, then through Aries, he gives us the gift.
Penance.
There are 4 conditions to become a magician. When we say magician, we're talking about the real meaning of the word, which comes from magi, which means priest. To become a priest, to become a magician, there are 4 conditions. You have to know how to suffer. This capacity comes through Aries. You have to know how to be silent. You have to know how to abstain. You have to know how to die. Oh, it's cold one right there. Eliphas Levi explained them as did Samuel Owen Weir. They have esoteric meaning. To die does not mean physical death. It is referring to the death of the ego, the death of the psyche, all the animal elements that condition us to cause suffering, which is the lower self. Jesus continues. Then these I cast into the womb of your mothers when I come into the world, that is those which are in your bodies today. For these powers have been given unto you before the whole world, because ye are they who will save the whole world, and that ye may be able to endure the threat of the rulers of the world, and the pains of the world and its dangers and all of its persecutions. This is why Aries is first. These gifts of the 12 powers or these potential virtues begin with Aries, the capacity to withstand persecution, to withstand criticism, to withstand attacks, to be true to oneself, to one's being. It's their own business. Be like Moses. For many times I have said unto you that I have brought the power in you out of the 12 saviors who are in the treasury of the light. The 12 saviors assist humanity by giving these virtues, giving them unto the essence, and by providing assistance and guiding to all the souls that seek the light. This means that any person who sincerely, honestly wants to change, wants to escape suffering, wants to make a difference, can appeal to those 12 saviors, can ask for help, can beg for assistance. This is where we arrive to the true nature of this course, which really should not be called astrology. It should be called astrology. I'm not sure. Astrology. Yeah, may have to Google that one. Theurgy. Theurgy is derived from the Greek term which refers to form of activity or action whereby you appeal to the gods. It is a kind of magic, but it is opposed by black magic.
Excuse me, brother. It's pronounced astrotheology.
Astrotheology. Thank you.
All right.
So that's just theology. Theology right there. It's derived from a Greek term which refers to form of activity or action whereby you appeal to the gods. It is of magic, but it is opposed by black magic. Real theology or theurgy, the power of theurgist, comes through theos, which means God, our own inner God. When the gnosis practitioner wishes to receive help, to have guidance, to have assistance from the divine forces, there are hundreds of practices that he or she can use to meditate, to use mantras, to ask, to pray, to beg for help. But what is different is these practices result in direct experience. These practices will place you If you are a sincere and disciplined practitioner, face to face with these divinities, not an imaginary experience, but a real one, give you the capacity or the doorway to be face to face with an angel, with a master, with a God. That is the purpose of religion, to unite with God, to converse with God, to talk with God. But we are talking about God as in multiple perfect unity. That is intelligence or energy which illuminates all its limbs, all his arms, all his hands, which are the angels, the masters, the Buddhas, the gods. Through astrology, we can talk through this door, or talk through this door. Third state of consciousness, which is prerequisite for direct experience. You can never have this kind of experience if you remain asleep as a consciousness, because even if you're a God out of compassion, or some master such as Jesus himself out of compassion grants unto you an experience, physical or internal, and you are asleep as a consciousness, you will forget. The same as you will forget your dreams, the same way you do not remember what happened last week or the week before that, or last month or last year. You will not realize what is happening in the same way that you dream now or not aware of it. We have to develop the consciousness to receive those experiences and keep them, to take advantage of them, to benefit from them. In other words, nothing is given to us for free. We can all have these types of experiences. They are all our natural birthright. That is why religion exists. That is why gods exist, to help, to provide assistance. But they cannot help us if we do not help ourselves. It is impossible. That is the Buddha emphasized, that he cannot save anyone. Like the Prophet said, take this and save yourself. People always asked him, can you save me? Can you save my father? Can you save my mother? Can you save my... Always said, no, you have to save yourself. Jesus said the same thing. Jesus continues, for which cause I have said unto you indeed from the beginning, that ye are not of the world. I also am not of it. For all men who are in the world have gotten their souls out of the power of the rules of the eons. But the power which is in you is from me. Your souls belong to the height. I have brought 12 powers of the 12 saviors to the treasure of the treasurer of the light, taking them out of the portion of my power which I did. These 12 powers are potentialities, which we have to develop. In other words, just as the zodiac exists in the macrocosm universe and space around us, it exists within. We have the zodiac within our own universe in a miniature or microcosm. As above, so below. We are a reflection of that, which is why the oracle of Delphi said, man, know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe and its gods. It's kind of like Sim Bay, Clock of Destiny book as well. Something like that.
Who else said, man, know thyself?
Noble Drawley.
So we're starting at
Islam.
Islam.
Noble Drawley. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to give a understanding of astrotheology. You're looking at the astro, the stars. Now, astrotheology would be synonymous to mythology. Mythology that we learned in school. Greek mythology is not quote unquote Greek mythology is not Greek mythology. That's stolen Egyptian philosophy. So the mythology and or astrotheology is the personification. So personification is taking, let's say, for the planet, the sun, the moon, Sirius, Pleiades, Betelgeuse, the Great Bear, the Big Dipper, Little Dipper, and you personify it with human characteristics. So let's give an example of the actual sun, SUN. So this is an example of astrotheology. What occurred about a month ago, Jesus died on the cross a month ago. And Jesus dies on the cross every year. Jesus is the actual sun. So what I'm doing, I'm explaining astrotheology or mythology. Jesus dies on the cross every year. Let's explain the astronomy. That is the winter solstice. The winter solstice is 2 points where the sun is at its extreme points. Its extreme northerly point, which is the summer solstice, which is June 21st in this northern hemisphere. You have the winter solstice, which the sun is at its lowest point of declination, or the extreme southerly point. These points were marked by ancestors thousands of years ago. In Masonic order, they're known as Boaz and Joachim. You have the Stonehenge, where thousands of Europeans descend upon Stonehenge in England on June 21st, as well as December 21st, where they're perfectly aligned pillars, where the alignment of the rising of the winter solstice sun and the summer solstice suns align. So Jesus is in the tomb for 3 days. That's the the winter solstice. Solstice means the sun. Sol means sun. And STI means stand.
All the money you gave me.
Oh, so somebody.
So the apparent motion of the sun.
Another fiat check.
I know, but
Hold on 1 second. Let me
sorry.
let me mute. Somebody need to be muted. Hold on.
That's helium.
All right, go ahead, brother.
All right. So it's the apparent motion of the sun, because the sun doesn't move. So the apparent motion of the sun appears to stand still for 3 days. I mean, Jesus is in the tomb for 3 days, because now it's making that transition from its southerly point, its most northerly point, and then moving to its moving back from its most southerly point to its northerly point. So that is an example of astrotheology or mythology. They're one and the same. Mythology and astrotheology are one and the same. So in school, we learn, what they call mythology, which is astrotheology. It's astronomy, just told in stories. So the stars, you have Pegasus, you have Pollock, the Pollock, you have the Southern Cross, Sirius, the Moon, Polaris, the Betelgeuse, Big Dipper, the Great Bear, Little Dipper. All right, so they're told in stories, or they're given human characteristics. That's called astrotheology. All right, or mythology. So I just wanted to put some science to it, so that we can, that help us to advance.
But Abdul, I have a question. I got a question. So
yes,
wouldn't the three kings and 3 wise men be?
Yes.
Right?
That's example astrotheology. That's the 3 kings or 3 wise men, are the 3 pole stars or Orion's belt. Let me explain. When the story of the 3 kings, all right, are you finding the way to the sun? What occurs on December 24th, the Orion's belt and Taurus is aligned on December 21st, aligned with Sirius, the dog star. The star of the Christmas tree is Sirius, the dog star. So the 3 Kings Day, all right, or the 3 wise men are the three pole stars of Orion's belt. Let me explain why Orion is known as the guider or pointer or archer or Cupid. Cupid, the pointer, the archer, or guider. Because when you locate Orion in the sky, Orion arches you, as in Cupid, or guides you or points you to other stars. So the Cupid is personification, or is actually Orion. All right, let's go, since I brought in Cupid. Cupid sits in the constellation on Betelgeuse. The color red. Betelgeuse is a bright red star, and that's why the color is red for Valentine's Day. The bone Cupid, the bow and arrow, represents Orion, which is the three pole stars of three pole stars that guides you to other stars. It's all astronomy. They hijacked our culture, y'all. They're culture bandits. They're culture hijackers. They're plagiarizers. You know, like they should get an F in school. They plagiarize. They're not originators of anything. They have no culture. They didn't develop shit. They have nothing that, you know, we are the originators of all of it. We are the originators. Alpha, you name it. You name it, we the originators of it. They are the copycatters, or they are the stealers or culture bandits. And what they've done was they pimped our culture. They pimped it financially. I mean, you know what a pimp does? Well, a pimp, that's their pimper. They're pimps. They're culture pimps. So they, you know, they have this, you know, they sell all this stuff, doing Valentine's type, you know, make all this finance. They commercialized our culture. We didn't do that. We didn't pimp our culture. We didn't commercialize our culture. They bastardized it. They pimped it. All right. So let's reclaim our culture with knowledge. Reclaim it with knowledge. All right. Peace.
I appreciate that. Let me look at the chat. I see something in the chat here. Yeah, exactly, man. Benjamin Bay, you got it. You got it.
Gotcha. The zodiac within the source, like the zodiac within is a source of light, and those 12 powers are reality of 12 apostles. The 12 great gods of Olympus, the 12 stones of Heliopolis, the 12 aspects of the celestial Jerusalem of the book of Revelation. It is the celestial abode which has to be eliminated from our own works. In other terms, we say that as we awaken consciousness, we develop this capacity to be attentively aware, transforming the forces. We start to develop those apostles within us. The great misunderstanding that Christianity entered into was to take the scriptures as literal truth. This literal truth in the scriptures. There is no question, but that is not why they were written. All of the ancient scriptures, all of the religious teachings were given as a form of practical guidance, practical knowledge, indicating things within us, and the drama that Jesus passed through as an embodiment of the Christ, as an incarnation of the Christ, kind of like what Brother Dewey was talking about, the Son personifying into Jesus, and not to be taken literal. As a transmitter of that light, that drama, immaculate conception to his resurrection and ascension is symbolic. The entire process also exists in the mysteries of Mithra, Budur, Quetzalcoatl, Buddha, all of those great teachers, Moses, Krishna. We're going to throw Nova Drug in there. Most of them were born of a virgin. Most of them were born of the waters. There are too many similarities, even from a superficial terrestrial point of view. And the reason this is all they all refer to the same core teachings. The heart doctrine was the closest place to find Allah. You know what I mean? Corazón. The influences that we receive are placed within our consciousness and are there for us to activate and utilize as we awaken the consciousness. If we do not, those influences are polarized the opposite way. The same polarization occurs when we receive the influences from the seven rays, those seven spirits before the throne of God. For example, the fifth ray gives us the capacity of love as a virtue within our consciousness. This is unconditional love, Christic love, but when we are asleep and enslaved by desire, that force inverts and becomes hate, anger, we then become creators of suffering, creators of karma. In the same way, the 12 powers can also be polarized. We receive the influence of our astrological sign, but we make that negative. The Master Samuel Al-Unwerer gave a key example of Hitler. Hitler was a native of Aries, and he took that aggressive, masculine, viral force and used it in a destructive way. That capacity is within everyone to use their own forces in the wrong way. It's kind of like my mother had the same birthday as Hitler. I thought that's kind of crazy, but yeah. Those energies, those forces are within our three brains, and they are within our body. In fact, they have a physical aspect, which those forces are crystallized into our very being, our very physical existence. They are the 12 salts that exist in the word of Yesod. Yesod is related to our eternal body, ethereal body. Yesod means the foundation in Hebrew, and it is the foundation of the temple. The columns of the temple rest on Yesod. Yesod is our energetic body, the body of Chi, which is a mere counterpart of the physical body. It is one aspect. These two are really one. Malkuth and Yesod. From this point of view, Malkuth is fallen, Sephiroth, meaning the physical body is fallen. It is inferior. It is in its current form. Within the energetic body are many forces and energies which give rise to our capacities. All of our own capacities. Without the vital body, the physical body would be dead. It has 4 primary aspects which deliver unto us the capacities of perception,
Thought you
memory,
said take your time.
imagination, metabolism, all the chemical processes, but most importantly, the sexual energy. And again, if you take this tree and you hold it over the physical body of a person, Yesod sits on the sexual organs, and Malkuth is related to the feet and the legs. So Yesod points exactly at the sexual energy, and it is there. And it is that these 12 salts exposed. The 12 salts, interesting, isn't it? These 12 salts are vital for the existence of life. If you study biology, you know what I mean.
All right. No.
I don't know. If, I don't know if everybody's familiar. Is everybody familiar with the 12 cell salts?
Oh, yes, a book on I got from Harvey Bay Publications that has them in there. I want to say I heard Brother Todd speak about it before, because it's like 3 you're missing.
Yeah, you get 9
Within
natural.
the 9 months. Yeah, within the 9 months, we within our mother. I remember speaking about that. So whatever your astrological sign is, like go back 3 and see what those salts are and all that. But yeah.
So everybody has a true supplement. We can find out what we're deficient, what cell salts we're deficient of, and we can make sure we get those 3. Now, of course, if you were premature, you would need 4. Like if you were born in 7 months or whatever. But the standard, you came out in 9 months. There's 12 total, so you're missing 3 when you come out the womb, and you want to find out what those are and consume those. It may be sodium phosphate. It may be magnesium, whatever the case may be, but there's 12 total. I'm gonna throw that out there.
Like the 12 major organs in the body.
Yeah, so you can Google the 12 major cell salts as it corresponds to your astrological sign. You can simply put that into Google, and a whole list will come up. But yeah, we can conclude with this. But as we can see, as we continue to read this Gnostic astrology, we're seeing the kingdom is within. We're seeing we have control. We have the capacity to have discipline. We have the capacity to make decisions out of love or not, which creates a karma.
And be active too.
And be active.
And that's a lot of Aries action. So it can be used in the negative way like Hitler or the positive way. I wouldn't be wrong. Abdullah was like in Aries or some sort, his compassion, for teaching and uplifting all of us, that's an Aryan energy, what I mean? That's a good polarized Aries.
April 10th.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. See, people get that fire taken the wrong way. It was like, you can cook the food, you can burn it up. But yeah, that's as long as that.
Yeah, it's basically like I'm hearing. It's like it's I kind of see it. Comparison with all of us on that, because it's like, okay, you got energy, but like, what do you do with it? You know what I mean? Like for me, it'd be times, still to this day or in my youth, where I'm feeling a pull for negative energy, but I might go work out, or I might go hoop, or I might, it's basically like I'm hearing, we saying is controlling our energy and putting it in the right motion and the right prosperous thing for us.
Yeah. And meditation is key to even, balance yourself, to even attempt to have discipline.
Basically, learning to love instead of hate. Basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Any other thoughts on this segment before we transition to Moore's paradigm?
I'm good, Mark. So
Brother DL.
Yeah, I'm good right now. Just listening.
All right, let me cue this
You want me to
up.
read?
Yes.
Okay. Among many older scholars, especially Masonic scholars, Mu in Atlantis was code for the ancient civilization of our ancestors, which existed prior to the worldwide cataclysms which took place 1500 BC, referred to as Noah's flood, Tower of Babel, etc. These ancient civilizations was highly advanced both spiritually and scientifically. From the descriptions of it seemed to be a sort of golden age. At that time, our divine nature, higher self, was master over mortal nature, lower self, according to the legend. This ancient civilization was destroyed because over time, our lower self began to master our higher self, which in turn threw the planet out of balance and set it up for massive destruction. Let us take a deeper look at this ancient civilization of our ancestors, referred to as Mu and Atlantis. For in this history is much light and lessons learned to be learned. Some say why study this Atlantis? These are just foolish fables of old. Remember, it is said that those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it. We can waste no more time repeating our past mistakes. We must learn our history and heritage so that we may advance the good and not repeat the mistakes already made. Almost all cultures and peoples have a tradition of golden age, which was first ruled by gods, then demigods, and then men. Thus it would seem that instead of man evolving, man has devolved from godlike beings to the present men of today. Below is a quote from Plato's Discourse on Atlantis with regards to the nobility of their natures, the Atlanteans. They were obedient to the laws and were affectionate towards the gods, who were their kinsmen, for they possessed true and every way great spirits, practicing gentleness and wisdom in the various changes of life. In their intercourse with one another, they despised everything but virtue, not caring for their present state of life, and thinking lightly on the possession of gold and other property which seemed only a burden to them. Neither were they intoxicated by luxury, nor did wealth deprive them of their self-control, but they were sober, and clearly saw that all these goods were increased by virtues, friendship with one another, and that by excessive zeal for them and honor them, of good of them is lost and friendship perishes with them.
So real quick before you continue, we see in our golden age, we had love for each other. We worked with each other. It was no problem to have unity, and we prospered, had thriving empires, you know. So to correspond with what we just read, we got to learn to love instead of hate for a lot of different reasons, you know. And back to the divine warning, that lack of love and lack of unity, as above, so below. Enormous earthquakes, bad weather conditions is directly related for us not being in harmony with nature. We got a lot of poverty, a lot of stress, a lot of hate, lack of togetherness. I just want to throw that in there. You got it, brother.
Mm. Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Um, Atlantis by Ignatius. Hold on. Okay.
Oh, and but it's just brother Wordell, peace of love.
Notice that they consciously realize very important jewel regarding wealth and possessions, that all these goods are increased by virtues, friendship with one another, and that they by excessive zeal for them and honor of them, the good of them is lost and friendship perishes with them. Virtues, friendships, and charity make wealth increase the same way water makes a plant grow. But in the next breath, Plato describes what later on began to take place and those things which led eventually to the fall of mighty Atlantis. By such reflections and the continuance in them of a divine nature, all that which was have described waxed and increased in them. But when this divine portion began to fade away in them and became diluted too often and with too much of the mortal admixture, and the human nature got the upper hand, and then they began unable to bear their fortune, became unseemly, and to him who had an eye to see, they began to appear base and had lost the fairest of their precious gifts. But to those who had no eye to see their true happiness, they were filled with unrighteous avarice and power. Notice what happened. Man's lower mortal flesh self began to get the upper hand, and the divine in them began to fade. We've seen that this happen to entertainment and sports figures, as well as leaders, many times as the height of success and wealth. When you least expect, your lower self raises and overthrows your higher self, and it is this just a natural part of the flesh, mortal part of man? Will we ever overcome it? Whenever you are in the height of your career, wealth and slash or prosperity, that is the time to speak back and do a little introspection and meditation. You should develop your spiritual higher self. You should be affirm yes, you should be firm your spiritual connection with your higher self. We should have spiritual nature of our people being alone, closest to nature, and your higher self regenerates your higher faculties and makes you better able to bear your fortune or misfortune for that matter. The people of Atlantis at the height of their power and wealth needed to step back, uh, reflect, realign itself with the higher divine nature of their origin. Instead, they ran headlong into their destructions like America is now, through haughtiness and arrogance. This is a card from the Rider White miniature tarot deck, which dramatically and symbolically shows what happens to a person who, at the height of earthly fame and fortune, does not realign themselves with the divine. This card also symbolizes the destruction of Atlantis, the Tower of Babel, and any great power that loses touch with the divine. This will be the fate of America and the present world order if the world does not go on a sort of global spiritual realignment with the divine. Notice the crown falling from the tower. Nobody or nation is too great to fall. We must be humble and balanced in order to bear fortune and misfortune. Note, the tarot card system from which comes our modern playing cards was put together by our Moorish ancestors as a way to preserve the ancient initiation teachings. Eden Gray, in the book of A Complete Guide to Tarot, says this chapter called The History of the Tarot. One of the most fascinating stories claiming the tarot originated in Egypt relates that after the Great Library of Alexandria was destroyed, the city of Fez in what is now Morocco became the intellectual capital of the world, which and to which wise men traveled from and near and far, needing to create a common tongue, for they spoke many languages. They set about inventing a method of communication. To this end, they prepared a picture book abundant in mystic symbols. A key to the meaning of these signs was headed down by word of mouth from initiate to initiate to preserve the secrecy of their messages. The symbols were later reproduced or seemingly initiates in this card that were used in games of chance by more frivolous men who could not possibly decipher their true significance. There is a link between the story of Atlantis told by Plato and the destructions mentioned in the Bible under Noah and the Tower of Babel. Remember, the story of Atlantis told by Plato came down to him from Solomon, who is in turn got from Egyptian priests. The story of Noah and the Tower of Babel in the book of Genesis was authorship is ascribed to Moses. Moses was said to be learned in all the wisdom of Egyptians, and the fact Moses is an Egyptian name as in Tutmosis. This is not hard to see how the destruction mentioned by Plato and that of the Bible can refer to one of them in the same incident. There must be some sort of great worldwide catalysm that took place in recent recorded history. Almost every great culture and people have recorded large-scale destruction in not too distant past. Even the earth itself preserves the record of this destruction. See Immanuel Velikovsky's Earth in Upheaval. Let us take a look at some of these records, this great destruction from other peoples beside the biblical account.
So real quick, I want to add that Thutmosis was an actual pharaoh that whoever not familiar with that can cross-reference, and you see that that's where the Moses character was actually one of the pharaohs. But you got it, brother.
Okay. There occurred violent earthquakes and floods, and in a single day and night of rain, all of your warlike men in your body sunk into the earth, and Atlantis in like manner disappeared and was sunk beneath the sea. And that is the reason why the sea in those parts is impassable and impenetrable, because there is such a quantity of shallow mud in the way, and this was caused by the subsidence of the island. Above is the quote from Plato's story of Atlantis, which describes the destruction of Atlantis. It is said that because of the sinking of Atlantis, it is very difficult to navigate the Atlantic Ocean. In the book Atlantic Journal and Friend of Knowledge, written is by C.S. Rivinsky in 1832-33, he describes the Delog flood stories in the records of the Chinese below. He also says that, according to the records, so-called Asiatic Negroes were the inhabitants of Asia prior to the flood or deluge, antediluvianism,
Antediluvians.
antediluvians. It has been sufficient to show and prove that the Chinese have traditions of the state of the earth before the flood as known to them in Eastern Asia, and the Asiatic Negroes were antediluvians.
So just real quick, when we hear Noble Drew, they talk about the uniting of Asia. This is another aspect,
Okay.
perspective. because our people were everywhere, and the whole world was Asia, Asia Major, Asia Minor. Just want to throw that in there. All right, you got it.
Okay. Atlantic Journal and a friend of knowledge, C.S. Ravinsky. Here is the Americas. There are traditions about a flood and major catalysms taking place. The Americas was a major part of the Atlantean civilization. The island of Atlantis was in the Atlantic Ocean, but Atlantis also included parts of America, Africa, and Western Europe. America was strategically located with the Atlantic on one side and the Pacific Mu on the other side. Below is a quote from the book called Queen Mu and the Egyptian Sphinx by Augustus Li Hongjian. This is taken from the Terreno MS Part 2, and it is a description of the destruction of Atlantis as recorded by the ancient Mayans who inherited their culture and from the ancient Olmecs. This year's 6 can on the 11th Mullik in the month Zak, there occurred terrible earthquakes which continued without intermission until the 13th Chun. The country of the hill of the mud, the land of Mu, was sacrificed, being twice a people. It suddenly disappeared during the night, and basin being continually shaken by volcanic forces being combined. These caused the land to sink and rise several times in various places. At last, the surface gave way, and the 10 countries were torn asunder and scattered in fragments.
So
Queen
real
Mu
quick,
and the
just real quick, I'm sorry. I wanted to highlight that we start talking about Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, the different Khans of the Tartary Empire. There were Khans in America as well. Once you read this book, Queen Mu and the Egyptian Sphinx, it's going to bring that up. I read this book, and I'm just, whoever gets it, I'm just letting you know it's going to talk about how it was Khans in America, which shows the connection of Manchuria and America. And also, the Olmecs ultimately became the Fushang dynasty, or the Shi, or reverted of the Shi, and then migrated to Manchuria, built pyramids out there, and started dynasties out there. So in the 4th century, you had Manchurians going back and forth. Olmecs and Manchuria, which is basically the same people, going back and forth in the 4th century and BC time. The Shi dynasty is like 2000 BC. The Olmecs was 2000 BC, 1500 BC. You're going to see this a similar time frame as well. And the reason for this nomadic movement was because of the volcanoes that were happening. So that's what made us be nomadic people as well. We had to go to other places of the earth that wasn't having volcanic eruptions. All right, so I wanted to just throw that in there. All right, you got it, brother.
okay. The year. Okay, what was that? Where was I at? I'm at the right there.
You like right here.
What's that?
That's this one even goes on to say after quoting this.
Does not this Augustus Leblanc does not this recital record the story of destruction of Atlantis told by Plato and the division of the country by Poseidon into 10 portions, assigning one to Earth and this 10 sorrows. Poseidon was said to have been the god who was the founder of Atlantis. He was said to have seared 5 pairs of sons, 10 total, among whom the empire was divided. At last, which C.M. Bay said the Fez symbolizes, was the firstborn and therefore was the head of the other rulers, kings of Atlantis. Here below is what Plato had to say about Poseidon, his 10 sons.
I got you.
Okay.
I'm gonna dive in. Unless you want to dive in, Benjamin Bay. I was gonna dive in on this last piece. You want to kind of system.
Oh no, you good. I come behind you, Paul, but yeah.
All right. So Plato had to, Plato had to say about Poseidon and his 10 sons, quote, I have before remarked in speaking of the allotment of the gods that they distributed the whole earth into portions, differing in extent, and made themselves temples and sacrifices. And Poseidon, receiving for his lot the island of Atlantis, he also begot and brought up 5 pairs of male children, dividing the island of Atlantis into 10 portions. And he named them all. The eldest, who was the king, he named Atlas. And from him, the whole island and the ocean received the name Atlantic. We got the Atlantic Ocean, we got Atlanta, right? There's still remnants on the East Coast. And they had such an amount of wealth as was never possessed by kings and potentates, and is not likely ever to be again. Now, is Atlantis by Ignatius Donnelly, that's page 11, what we just read, a quote from that literary work. The Moorish elders taught us that there were 5 main tribes of the Moors corresponding to 5 titles. These 5 pairs of sons and Poseidon correspond to these 5 tribes: Bays, the Days, the Isles, the Els, and the Alis. We are taught that we, the Moors of North America, are mainly Els and Bays. The title Ali is reserved and honorary, associated with Atlas. It is reserved and received based on outstanding deeds in the way of uplifting fallen humanity, and one should not give oneself this title arbitrarily. Ali. These 10 kings, headed by Atlas, son of Poseidon, god of the oceans and maritime nations, are known in the Bible as the 10 patriarchs who preceded the flood. In the number given by the Bible for the antediluvians before the flood, patriarchs, we have the first instance of a striking agreement with the traditions of various nations. 10 are mentioned in the book of Genesis. Other nations, to whatever epoch they carry back their ancestors, whether before or after the deluge, whether mythical or historical character prevail, they are constant to this sacred number 10. And that was a quote from Ancient History of the East by Lenormant and Chevalier, volume 1, page 13. One will notice that these patriarchs are antediluvians who lived before the flood, one of whom was Methuselah, are said to have lived for hundreds of years. This means that not only were they of a noble nature, but they also knew the secrets of regeneration. In the earliest records of the great ancient civilizations, the king lived and ruled for hundreds of years, for hundreds and sometimes thousands of years at a time. They were considered divine and semi-divine. In other lands, also, this use of the number 10, symbolizing the rulers of ancient Atlas, as seen below. In Chaldea, Barroso enumerates 10 antediluvian kings whose fabulous reign extended to thousands of years. The legends of the Iranian race, many in West Africa claim descent from Iran, commence with the reign of 10 Poseidon kings. That's interesting because we were talking with the Iranian community at the Chamber of Commerce event, letting them know the connection dealing with Mesopotamia and how the statues and the monuments, the carvings, they got brothers with fezzes on and scruffy beards out there, by the Sumerians, etc. Men of the ancient law who lived on pure Homa, water of life, or nectar, and who preserve their sanctity. In India, we meet with the 9 Brahmadikas. I see the word Brahma in there. Who with Brahma, their founder, make 10, and who are called the 10 Petras, or 10 fathers. The Chinese count 10 emperors, partakers of the divine nature before the dawn of historical times. The Germans believed in the 10 ancestors of Odin, and the Arabs in the 10 mythical kings of Adites. This was a quote from Ancient History of the East, once again, page 13. After the destruction of Atlantis, our ancestors who rebuilt the world's civilization were under the leadership of Nimrod, the mighty hunter of the Lord. dealing with the constellation of Orion. Who was this Nimrod? For many authors, he has received a bad reputation. But is this bad reputation true? Was he some evil and cruel tyrant? Or is this just a guise for jealousy and racism because Nimrod was a dark-skinned, woolly-haired Hamatite, son of Cush? On the right is a picture of King Esarhaddon of Assyria, which was one of the kingdoms found by Nimrod. This king and all the kings of the line of kings descended from Nimrod wore the fez, as seen on the head. The same thing with the Sumerians that we were talking about with our, the originators of Mesopotamia, the gods of Mesopotamia. Same thing. This king and all the kings of the line of kings descended from Nimrod were the fez that's seen on his head. When one looks at this picture of King Esarhaddon, it is as if you were looking at Nimrod himself. Also notice the naps in his beard symbolized by the circles. More on this later. To understand who Nimrod was, it is important to go back to the Table of Nations recorded in the book of Genesis. Remember that the Bible is a compilation of the many works and histories which the Israelites came into contact with in Canaan, Egypt, and Mesopotamia. Thus, we can safely say that the Table of Nations is more than likely based on the historical accounts preserved in Egypt, Canaan, and Mesopotamia. On the following page is that Table of Nations taken from the book of Genesis in the Bible. So this is Genesis. Now, these are the generations of the son of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons Japheth, Gomer, Magog, and Madai, Javan, and Tubal, and Meshish, and Tyrez. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Repath, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodamim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided into their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families and their nations. And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Sheba, Havilah, Sabbatha, and Ramah, and Septeka. And the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Ashur, and builded Naviah, in the city of Rehoboth and Calah. And risen between Naviah and Calah, the same is a great, and the Mizraim begot Ludim, and Adamim, and Lahabin, and Naphtuhim, and Pushrim, and Kasluhim, out of whom the Philistine, and Capturium. And Canaan begat Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth. So this is verbatim. The reason we're going verbatim with Genesis, because you see it pops out the parallels of the genealogy of Moors, which is not separate people, right? And Jebusite and Amorite and the Girgash and the Hivite and the Archite and the Sinite and the Arvadite, the Arvadite and the Zemarite and the Hamathite. And afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. The broader of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah, and Zebim, even into Lasha. These are all the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their country, and in their nations. Unto Shem also, the father of all children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder. Even to him were children born, the children of Shem, Allah, Ashur, Arphax, and Lud, and Aram, and Aram. All right, I think we get the point that these all come from the same lineage of Moors, people wearing fezzes and turbans. So don't get confused once you know the sons start having children and offspring and later form different tribes. That doesn't make us different people. We're the same people. All right. In the past, scholars accepted as given that Ham represented the so-called black race, Shem the so-called red races, and Japhet the so-called yellow and white races. But this is not at all accurate nor true. Ham does represent the ancient Moors, or so-called black races of Asia and Africa, but so does Shem. As a matter of fact, Shem is actually just a branch of the so-called Hamitite people. The Semitic languages are a branch of the Hamitite people, the Hamitite, Ham, right? When compared, they are almost identical in any aspect. But whereas the Hamitite languages have hundreds of dialects, the Semitic language only have a few. So when we talk about Semitic, we're talking about people that are referred to as Jews. So the Moors are loosely referred to as Jews, or the ones that know knowledge, which, Jew comes from Tahuti, because we know there was really no Jad back then. And Tahuti was a bird, I believe, it was stork, and represented one that knows knowledge, or the illuminated
Yeah.
one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like Toucan Sam before Toucan Sam.
Right. All right, let me continue here. Notice in the quotes below, taken from the Table of Nations. Wow. Okay, it didn't do too bad. I thought I lost it. You back.
You wanna go home? Oop.
So the bold names appear as descendant of both Ham and Shem. There are descendants of Ham, the sons of Cush, Sheba, Havilah, and Sabbatha, and Ramah and Sabteka, and the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. Out of that land went forth Ashur and built it Neviah, the city of Rabbah. And then we have the descendants of Shem. I'm not going to literally go through this, but just look at the descendants of Ham, descendants of Cush, which is the son, descendants of Shem, relatives, and they had offspring, etc. Same bloodline of people. That's the whole point. These are not separate people. So we say Israelite, Canaanites, Hittites, Moabites, Carthaginians, Sumerians, Olmecs, Mayans, Manchurians, Lee Dynasty, Mauryan Dynasty. All these is Moors. That's the bottom line. All throughout the Bible, there is this overlap between the descendants of Shem and Ham, which can only mean that they were one and the same people. Also, you will notice that Sheba is stated as a descendant of Cush and Ham, as well as Shem. This is the reason for the confusion as to whether the queen of Sheba was from Ethiopia or Arabia. Much of what is now called the Near East was all inhabited by the Cushites, or quote-unquote Ethiopians, or Abyssinians would be proper. In fact, Cush or Ethiopia once went from Ethiopia and Africa eastward and included Arabia, Mesopotamia, Sumer, Elam, Syria, Chaldea, and India or Hindustan. This was all once considered to be Cush or Ethiopia. Japhet is the so-called Mongol, right? So now we're talking about the Mongols. So I'm talking about the different khans once again. Same people. And the northern peoples, many of who those who are classified as Native Americans also fall within this Japhetic Mongol line. Many in this Japhetic line were as dark-skinned as the descendants of Ham. Only the texture of their hair was slightly different. And many have eye fold, which was environmental adaptation to windy, sandy, dissolute environments. So our people that got the slanted eyes adapted to the environment. Left is a picture of the Mongol women from China. Thus, it could be said that after the flood, there were only two main people on the earth, Hamitic and Shemitic, and the Japhetic Mongol. the so-called red and black, quote unquote. And if you if you will find that our two people freely mix with one another, such that in certain places like Southeast Asia, India, the Pacific, and America, we mixed so much that we cannot be separated. But now let's return to Nimrod and the descendants of Ham, who re-civilized the whole world after the great floods or earthquakes or cataclysm. Cataclysm, that's what they are, earthquakes and great floods, things like that. Of the 1500 BC. Now keep this time frame in mind. The Olmecs, 1500 BC. In America. The quote below is from The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop. While reading this, keep in mind that the Hermes was Thoth or Tahuti. So Thoth, Tahuti, same people. The Egyptian Kemetic god of wisdom. And whoever hasn't read the Kabbalion or dealing with the 7 Hermetic principles and length, the prelude going to tell you how Abraham got his wisdom from Hermes or Hermes. Hermes is your root word for Hermetic principles, the principles of Tahuti. And Tahuti later became called Jew. So the principles of the Jew, the principles of the illuminated people on the earth. Right? The Moors, the wisdom of the Moors. Now Nimrod was the son of Cush, was black, in other words. It was Negro. That's we know that there were Negroes, but this is just cross-referencing to support that Cush was a dark-skinned person. Cush was a Moor. Nimrod was a Moor. I have already noticed the fact that Nimrod was the son of Cush. Now, the name Nimrod signifies the subduer of the leopard. Nimrod from Nimr, a leopard, and Rada or Rad, to subdue. Oh, here, I'm about to just say that. I'm glad they're saying it right here. The Olmec culture had the jaguar culture and the leopard culture as well. They actually wore leopards on their backs, and it was like fly garb that we used to wear, leopards and jaguar. So this would explain the fact that the jaguar coat in the jaguar priesthood of the Olmecs, jaguar equals Amazon leopard. And where's the Amazons? South America, Central America, not Africa. The jungles are in America, not Africa. And Queen Khalifa was considered the Amazon woman. Just other cross-referencing points that come into my mind. Where you get California. It also accounts for the leopard societies in West Africa, which exist to this day. So we got same people in America, same people in West Africa. The empire was vast. Same garb, same people, same culture. Osiris was, as well as the pharaohs and priests of Egypt, are seen wearing the leopard skin as a sign of distinction. Right? Pharaohs in Egypt, Olmecs, where we know ancient America is Egypt, or ancient Egypt. Right? All right, peace and love, brother. Tap in with me this week, brother Justin. Let's chop it up whenever you get a chance.
Will do, man. Peace and love.
Peace and love, brother. The exploits of Nimrod, therefore, in hunting down the wild beasts of the field and riding the world of monsters, must have gained for him the character of preeminent benefactor of his race. That was a quote from Two Babylons. The two wild beasts roamed the earth in large numbers, and you could hear the large birds flapping their wings at a long distance. It was the Moors, the Moorish dukes, that took the sword and went out and slayed the beasts so that civilization come in. And that was a quote from Noble Jew Ali, an oral statements and prophecies. That's consistent with this literary work that we're reading today. It is significant that Nimrod is referred to as a mighty hunter. After the cataclysm, the earthquakes and floods, he and his Cushite, Hamathite, Amalekite soldiers subdued both wild beasts and wild men of the earth and reestablished law and order. Below are some quotes regarding his reestablishing of world order, which we still live under today. In The Legends of the Jew by Ralph Ginzberg, he speaks of some of the legends of the Jews regarding Ham, Canaan, Cush, and Nimrod. So once again, this is more cross-referencing. The Moors are the Jews, or the Moors were the enlightened ones, or what they say is Sephardic. Today, Sephardic Jews distinguished from the Ashkenazi. I guess that's another way to put it. Though he is often portrayed by his haters as being bad, the Bible never says anything negative against him. In fact, he is spoken of as being before the Lord in his capacity of being a mighty one of the earth. I think I'm going to stop right here with this segment. You want to have a conversation on this? How everybody feel about this historical composition? Is there any confusion that these are all Moors? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Put them. Let's have a discussion.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like that when it talked about the connections with the brothers, because when you go to whether you go to Shem, you go to Ham, or you go to Japhet, these three are all brothers in the same bunch that come out of Noah. And especially when it talks about the Hamites and the Shemites being identical, that is very true. Because like if you remember when Joseph was sold into slavery, and then his brothers came and they didn't know he was second vice lord in Egypt. They didn't even recognize their brother because they thought he was an Egyptian as well. You know, so it's and like it also put in there like us being so mixed. You know, a lot of us are mixed, and even our ancestors that lived already for thousands of years, a lot of them had hundreds of years or whatever of mixing. It seems that, you know, especially when you're going through it, far from understanding from the brothers from Shem, Ham, and Japhet, that, you know, we all just need to align ourselves with the Creator, and we have different cultures where we call, you know, the Most High different names, but in a sense, that is, if an individual is going from that perspective, that's how we maintain balance, because we had our kingdoms fell from eternally. You know, like we read the divine warning here with, you know, Noble Drew Ali. He talks about, you know, it's a few times in there where he talks about his people of also, you know, doing wrong and part of being in the situation that we're in. So, you know, we have to really look at, you know, when we're reading about our civilizations and our culture and our people, that, you know, within our people, there were people with different mindsets. But I think it was beautiful how, you know, it was explained of the difference, but also the unification and also the oneness of a people. So I just want to add that in.
That's piece of anybody else wanted to add anything? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I had a question. I recognize you said Poseidon was the king of Atlantis, and is Tahuti, is he like the son of Poseidon or something?
From my understanding, Tahuti represented, or one, you know, one that knows knowledge or wisdom, you know, a deity.
Okay.
That was only
Islam, Noble.
Islam. Brother Salim, you got something?
Absolute, man. I just want to say in a general sense, growing up in the church, you know, I'm out here in Houston, Texas, growing up in the church, it's amazing. You know, the breakdown about Nimrod, you know, and how we going about this. A lot of people, you know, the Christians, you know, different religions just remain in the Christian church to be so strong in what they believe, and they don't really understand these breakdowns, like Nimrod, Nim being the leopard, Rod being subduer. Like, I know that they don't know that Nimrod means the leopard subduer, and that when they use their heads, they say, "Oh yeah," in Africa over here, the cultures had the jaguar, leopard, like, and they can't put that they can't put it together. The correspondence that's one and the same with you, and that's the ancient you, and that this is not something that's from far away. This is something that you're in tune with, but just the Nimrod thing, and how y'all get into depth about that. I think that's really, really amazing, because I know most people have no idea about this stuff when we talk about Moors and how we can tie it in with what they've grew up all their life here in the church, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that, man. So I just want to, like somebody with a simple, basic mind frame, just to hear something like that. And they be like, okay, well, that makes sense, because I know about the Bible and everything. But that's amazing how, y'all was able to bring that out, that more science is phenomenal. Yeah, that's all though. Islam.
Wow, phenomenal. I like that choice of words, man. More science is phenomenal. That's beautiful, man.
Islam, absolutely.
Anybody else got something for we transition to the next aspect for the day? Transition here. This is fundamental for some, but I feel it's fitting because we have a couple new people. Yeah. Oh, Brother Benjamin Bay, you wanna take this?
Oh yeah, I will. We'll start at
First,
colorable, like colored.
Mhm.
First, we're colored people. All right, I got it. First, we're not colored people. Colored means something painted, and in law means fake. You are not a fake person. Colored person are civil liter mortuus, meaning they are civilly, which is a legal status. Below are the definitions of color of law, color of authority, and color of office, and color. Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Color. This is coming from Henry Campbell Black's 4th edition right here, what I'm about to read. An appearance, semblance, or simulacrum as distinguished from that which is real. A prima facie or apparent right. Hence, a deceptive appearance, a plausible assumed exterior concealing a lack of reality, a disguise or pretext. Color of authority. The semblance or presumption of authority staining the acts of public office, which is derived from his apparent title to the office, or from a writ or person process in his hands apparently valid and regular. Color of law, the appearance or semblance without the substance of legal right. And then we got color of office. An act unjustly done by the countenance of an office being grounded upon corruption to which the office is as a shadow and color, a claim or assumption of right to do an act by virtue of an office made by a person who is legally destitute of any such right. Example, if I am a painter with a blank canvas, if I paint a mountain range, it will appear to be a mountain range, but in fact it is in fact a blank canvas simulating or to be a mountain range, when in reality it's not. By saying you're a colored person, you're saying the courts do not have to recognize you in a legal way. It is the legal status and nothing to do with skin complexion or skin tone. So you're basically walking there and saying, hey, I'm the mountain. I'm a canvas mountain, I'm a painting or a mountain. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, a person, on the mountain. I'm a colored mountain right here. Colored. By common usage in America, this term in such phrases as colored person, the colored race, colored men, and the like is used to designate Negroes or of the African race, includes all persons of mixed blood descended from Negro ancestry. Notice how it states this term in parentheses and not identity. Also, the phrase by common usage in America, as it is not common to the rest of the world to refer to people outside of their national identity. I'm tripping the details. It has been held that there is no legal technical signification to this phrase colored person, which the courts are bound to justly to know. Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Colored, black, and the like are terms, not an identity. A term is a word or phrase used to describe a thing. An identity, in fact, or of being who or what or thing is, or what a person or thing is. Civilly mortuus, civilly dead, dead in the view of the law, the condition of one who has lost their civil rights and capacities and accounted dead in law. This law book of ancient and modern jurisprudence, meaning law and history, goes together. Keep in mind, during the Renaissance, a period in European history from the 14th to the 17th century, when the Moors, our ancestors, entered into modern-day Spain, Al-Andalus, and taught the European Christian guilds and the liberal gods, that's guilds, the 7 liberal arts that include jurisprudence, which is law. We got Black's Law Dictionary right there, the definition of terms and phrases of American and English jurisprudence, ancient and modern jurisprudence. And when you hear ancient, it's Moors. You know what I mean? 2, there are 2 types of persons in law. There are 2 kinds of persons in law, natural and artificial. Which one are you? Person, a man considered according to the rank he holds in society, with all the right to which the place he holds him, and the duties which it imposes. The word in its natural and usage significations includes woman as well as men. Term may include artificial beings as corporations. Persons, in parentheses, are 2 kinds, natural and artificial. A natural person is a human being. Artificial persons include a collection or succession of natural persons forming a corporation, a collection of property to which the law attributes the capacity of having rights and duties. Did I skip on? No. The latter class of artificial persons is recognized only to a limited extent in our law. Examples are the estate of bankrupt or deceased person. As you can see, corporations are counted as persons. With that being said, corporations have certain privileges, to include the privilege to be considered a citizen. Can see how the relation of the 2 types of person and creation of the 14th Amendment, giving slaves the right to be considered a citizen of the United States Corporation Company, is a semantic deceit and trick. It's kind of like they took the actual right. The 14th Amendment would be that painting of the mountain that looks like law, but it's not law. Going back to that whole thing. The 14th Amendment, or that painting that looks like law. It's not real mountains. You can step on that. All persons, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. So our people reading this, after the prophet, demise, this seems like law or some equal, footing, but it says privileges. They got privileges and rights. So once again, they're painting the mountain instead of sending us actually up the mountain. Notice the language change in the comparison to the other amendments. For example, in the Second Amendment, it states the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Now in the 14th Amendment, it's talking about persons and citizens. Corporations are property, so are slaves. Do you see the connection? Do you see how by claiming a 14th Amendment unconstitutional mountain painting, colored person, Black or Indian, you're willing You're willingly surrendering your freedom. Refer back to the Captain America quote. Refer back to the Captain America quote. The U.S. citizens of the District of Columbia, and 14th Amendment citizens residing in one of the states of the Union are classified as property and franchises of the federal government as an individual entity. Will Steel Corp versus Fox 298 U.S. 193 LED, whatever this letter mean. Right there. That's just the case for that. Shout out Captain America. Citizen, a member. So you're a citizen, like you're saying, it was a member of a free city or jural society, civitas, possessing all the rights and privileges which can be enjoyed by any person under its constitution and government, and subject to the corresponding duties. Citizens are members of community inspired to common goal, who in associated relations submit themselves to rules of conduct for the promotion of general welfare, conversation of individual as well as collective rights. So think about the Circle 7, or the Divine Constitution that Ali brought us. You become a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You don't have to go to a physical building, because you want the temple, but for more organized drill society, having a temple, is a plus, because the private have one. So think that we are citizens of the Moorish Science Temple of America, or members of the Moorish Science Temple. But pushing forward, a corporation is a citizen or a member of a state under whose laws is created, and a non-resident of each other state. Third, we are not a minority. Minority deals with the mental state of a person. It's a legal status, infants or minors, but only until they grow, not only physical but mentally, and that is when they reach the status of minority. Minor, an infant or person who is under the age of legal mental competence. Also less consideration, lower, a person of inferior condition. Minority, the mental state or condition of a minor, infancy. This is why when our people claim to be a minority, attorneys are placed onto us to represent us, because a minor cannot present itself due to the lack of mental competence. Placing that individual into a war is, do you see how the lack of knowledge affects mental competence? And to come from a dictionary, I'm assuming a law dictionary, wards of court. Infants, a person of unsound mind, Davis Committee versus Lonnie. You can go search that case up and, get further information about wards of the court and why it's important not to be a minority when you're in there mentally. A ward is a kind of word for belonging to someone else. Not only that, but all profits made off their estate while the heir is a minor does not have to be accounted for. Thus, the European wealth on our lands and do not have to account for anything they do, partially because we unknowingly abandon our estate and refuse to administrate it for ourselves. So we got the warship definition right there. We'll just go to the highlighted part. In military tenures, the right of the Lord to have custody as guardian of the body lands of the infant heir. So that would be us. So since we are unaware who we are or where we are, the land under our feet goes into warship tenures, which is called, the U.S. Toucan Sin. And how to correct your status through nationality and steadying. Nationality establishes your political status, meaning your place in a specific jurisdiction and protected by certain laws, treaties, constitution, etc. Nationality not only deals with your bloodline, but it deals with your mental competence, knowledge of self, the function and laws of government. Knowing your nationality, it takes you out of the state of minorityship. You know what I mean? Standing state or condition, the legal relation of individual to the rest of the community. the rights, duties, capacities, and incapacities which determine a person to a given class, a legal legal personal relationship, not temporary in its nature, nor termable at the mere will of the parties with which third persons and the state are concerned, which term implies relations, not mere relations. It also means a state because it signifies a condition or circumstances in which one stands with regard to his property, nationality, the quality or character which arises from the fact of a person's belongings to a nation or state. Nationality determines the political status of the individual, especially with the reference to allegiance, while domicile determines his civil status. Nationality arises either by birth or by naturalization. Notice how the definition states nationality by its birth, then its contradiction states or by naturalization. Nation, Latin nationum, birth, origin, breed, stock, kind, species, tribe, literally that which has been born. From natus, past particle of nasi, be born. Oh. Old Piru gene, give birth, begot. A nation and nationality is a bloodline, therefore it can only arise from birth, not outside force can your mother granted you by birth. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, endowed by their creator, and certain unalienable rights. Political, pertaining or relating to the policy or the administration of government, state, or national. People versus Morgan, 90 Illinois 558. Pertaining to or identical to the exercise of the functions vested in those charged with the conduct of government relating to management of affairs of state as political theories of or pertaining to exercise of rights and privileges or the influence by which individuals of state seek to determine or control its public policy, having to do with organization or action of individual parties or interests that seek to control appointment or action of those who manage affairs of the state. Unalienable, cannot be taken plus lien possession of property belonging to another person until the debt is charged, plus able, having the power of means to do something. So don't Virgo make this.
Let me stop right here. Let me see.
Can I say something, brother?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
You there? Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to review. Great job, brother, in reading.
Oh,
And
thank you.
just you've heard me say this about 3 or 4 times in the past 2 months, that that all of the land is not under United States tenure. So I put 2 weeks ago, I put in about 10 different links regarding I've talked about the Spanish crown. The Spanish crown in the 15, 16, 1700s granted Spanish land grants to Spanish soldiers and Spanish families on the Spanish conquest. Those are still in place. Those land grants, Spanish land grants, are not United States tenures. That's Spanish tenures. The United States is a trustee or administrator to protect the interests of the Spanish land grants for those families who had 2,000 acres, 1,000 or so acres, California, Mexico, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Utah. The United States is obligated to protect the interests of those Spanish land grants. I want to, and the reason I want to bring this up so that we can put We have to put Spain on the table. Spain, and I know that because it's been taught, because we hear United States, United States, United States, United States, United States all the time. We don't hear Spain, and we don't hear France, and we don't hear England anymore. And this is why I put in the chat, so you don't have to say Abdullah Bey said anything. You don't need to say Abdullah Bey said anything. I put 10 links, and I'll do it again. I put 10 links in the chat dealing with cases, dealing with land cases regarding the conquest, you know, extended. You know, you have the British, you had the William Duncan patent of 1689. You have the Spanish land grant cases. So everything's not under United States tenure. The 13, let's go to Article 1, and I did this the first time. This was November, the first Sunday in November. The first Sunday in November, my first time on the platform. And we were talking about the word relinquish. And we went to Article 1 of the 1783 Definitive Peace Treaty between Great Britain and the United States. So we can see the word relinquish. Here's Britannic Majesty relinquish. So the 13 original states, as in North Carolina State, is assuming rights under the North Carolina Charter. So the boundaries that's laid out in the North Carolina Charter is now vested in we, the people of North Carolina State. Their personal rights, there were religious societies, schools, and other institutions that were established under the British Crown. Those are personal rights. United States, Article 3, Section 2 of the United States Constitution. There is, it protects the interests of those personal rights. Society versus New Haven, Ware versus Hilton. Society versus New Haven, 1823. Society of the Propagated Faith versus New Haven. It was ruled that this is a law of nations principle. The personal rights of the society that vested in the charter granted by the British Crown was not removed as a result of the Revolutionary War. Let me go to 1491. The 1491 treaty, Treaty of Granada, between us and Spanish Crown. That's the last Moorish ruler of Europe was Abu Muhammad. The personal rights, the Moors lost sovereign control of the territory, but not the personal rights were still protected. The personal rights are protected in that 1491 Treaty of Granada. What Philip II did was to remove the protection of that Treaty of Granada, was classify the Moors as Spanish. So I want to bring the point so that we can have in mind Spain, France, Great Britain, Netherlands, that not just United States, because these affairs are. That's why I showed. That's why I present the cases, so y'all can see for yourself that this matters are being addressed all the time. There are towns, Southampton. I put the case in the chat 2 weeks ago. Southampton, a town in New York, upstate New York, was created under the William Duncan patent, 1869. William Duncan was the governor of the County of New York. He was appointed the governor of the County of New York by James II, King of England. King James II was Duke of York. James II was Duke of York. His brother, King Charles II, granted him a charter in 1664, New York, Duke of York. When King Charles II transitioned, his brother, Duke of York, James II, ascended to the throne. So when he ascended to the throne, he appointed William William Duncan, Thomas Duncan, Governor Thomas Duncan, and issue Thomas a letters of patent. Thomas Duncan granted letter of patent or towns were created and protected to this very day under that Duncan patent. Southampton is one of them. Their board of trustees, there's two board of trustees. You have the board of trustees under the Southampton that's chartered under William Duncan patent, and you have the town board that was chartered by the state of New York. Two different jurisdictions. The state of New York, that town chartered by the state of New York, is trying to fringe on the rights of the Southampton that's protected. That's what the case is about. So these matters go on all the time. Just want to just bring the point to surface again, that these matters go on all the time under our nose, and I was not aware of it. I was not aware of it. I thought, I'm United States, United States, United States, United States, United States, California State, North Carolina State. I'm thinking that, when that's not the case at all. These are personal rights. It behooves us to be aware of this. Why does it relate to us? Because it's our land. It relates to us because it's our land. It has everything to do with us. That treaty between Great Britain and United States has to do with it. How does it relate to us, Abdullah? How does the treaty between Great Britain and United States in 1783 have to do with us? Because it deals with our land. Great Britain is relinquishing what? What did King George III relinquish? Land. He relinquished the land and that authority for the states to operate in the charter. So that does relate to us because it's our land. So we got to go deal with Great Britain, because North Carolina, the 13 states' authority to operate upon the land is not from the state constitution. It's from Article 3 of the Definitive Peace Treaty. I'm just bringing this point up, and I'll continue to bring it up so it can, and that's I'll put those cases as soon as I finish talking. I'll put those cases in the link chat again. This matters. The more we know, the more effective we can be. Our lack of effectiveness. Talk about conscious Moors. Conscious Moors. Of course, not conscious Moors. The conscious Moors' lack of effectiveness is the lack of knowledge. Yes, we know we're Moors. But what we lack in knowledge is international law. What we lack in knowledge is the pre-existing personal rights of Spain and France and personal, and that knowing that United States Supreme Court does not have the authority to remove the Spanish land grants. They don't have that authority. That's a sovereign. The United States is an instrumentality of the continuation of conquest and colonization of our land. The United States does not have our interests. United States is not a trustee for the Moors. United States is a trustee for Spain, France, England. The United States is not a trustee. The United States is a conquesting instrument. When you look at I'm gonna put some stuff in the chat. Everything I say, I can support. I can support everything I say. Everything. Case after case after case. So I just another point I want to bring up. I want to bring up the issue of the Kingdom of Hawaii. The Kingdom of Hawaii. I'm gonna ask the question. Let me go outside because they got the radio on. I'm asked the question: Are Native Hawaiians citizens of the United States? If so, how? If not, how not? Are Native people of Hawaii citizens of the United States?
They're citizens of Hawaii, right?
It's either yes or no.
I say no.
You say no.
All right. Are they citizens of the state of Hawaii? Are they residents of the state of Hawaii? Citizens of the state of Hawaii? What is the state of Hawaii?
Do they have a king out there? Is under or not? Do they still have a king?
No, that's been. So I'm saying, so the state of Hawaii and the Kingdom of Hawaii are not the same. The Kingdom of Hawaii has been collapsed due in 1893. Since 1893, when United States officials, Army, all right, put the Queen under house arrest.
Damn.
So the Kingdom of Hawaii has been under a temporary extinction or collapse due to conquest, due to subjugation. So United States subjugated the Kingdom of Hawaii, and after subjugation, they annexed it. They annexed the land, all right, and then created a political jurisdiction called the state of Hawaii. Which is not the same. The native people of Hawaii the native people of Hawaii has nothing to do with the state of Hawaii. They did not, that's not Hawaiian sovereignty. It's not Hawaiian sovereignty at all. The Queen is.
So it'd be
The
like
Queens.
the
Go
New
ahead.
York State and the state of New York. Sort of
I'm not gonna. No. I know you're going. No.
Oh,
No. I know you're going. No. Let's not. No. Now I gotta address that. All right. Let me address that now since you threw it out. So I said no. Let me explain why I say no. Because that's not a good that's not a good example at all. All right. The New York State. Let's go to the Article 1 of the Definitive Peace Treaty between Great Britain and the United States. The name of the New York State was established in 1777. All right, so now I got to address it. So this good, brother. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. New York State was established in 1777 through a constitutional convention. Now you have the 1777 New York State Constitution established through a constitutional convention and ratification convention. That New York State signed, the representatives of that New York State signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776. That representatives of that New York State signed the Articles of Confederation in 1781. That New York State is listed in the Articles of Confederation that the United States, viz., all 13 of name, New York State is one of them, and that New York State is listed in Article 1 of the Definitive Peace Treaty between Great Britain and the United States. That New York State. State of New York is not that New York State. State of New York has no authority. State of New York did not sign the Articles of Confederation. State of New York is not a body in the Articles of Confederation. State of New York is not a body in the Articles in the Definitive Peace Treaty. State of New York is not a body that signed and ratified the United States Constitution. All right. Let me continue. Thank you. I appreciate you. So let's look at State of New York, right? And let's look at United States Corporation. United States Corporation was created through an act of Congress. United States Congress. United States Corporation does not have any constitutional authority. The United States that was established through an act of Congress in 1917. United States that was established through an act of Congress, 1871. United States Corporation established through Delaware, the Florida Corporation. All right, those United States do not have any constitutional authority. Those United States are not the United States that signed that were formed under the Articles, that formed under the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation. Those United States is not the one that sanctioned in the Article 1 of the Definitive Peace Treaty. those United States. All right, that's an act of Congress. So I'm drawing an analogy to state of New York and those United States. All right. So state of Hawaii, or New State, Hawaii state, all right, it's not Hawaiian sovereignty. The native people of Hawaii did not. The native people of Hawaii did not convene in a constitutional convention and draft a new constitution to form the state of Hawaii. That's not in Hawaiian sovereignty. The Hawaiian sovereignty lies in what? Their last ruler, the queen. I know she's transitioned, but the sovereignty of Hawaii, all right, lays in abeyance. So what the native people of Hawaii have to do is what? What we have to do. They have to have a national constitutional convention. Or either decide to go back to what? The kingdom, a kingdom structure, and find that heir, or what? Or establish a republic through a constitutional convention. That has not happened. They have talked about it. What the issue is? The issue is that you have native people of Hawaii who want to do that. And you have native people of Hawaii who wants to continue to be subjugated by the United States. Well, the United States been taking care of us, you know what I mean? The United States been taking care of us since 1893. Man, what do we do? Mafi, what do we do? We know we got some of our people that want to restore Hawaiian sovereignty, but I'm afraid, Mafi. I'm afraid because the United States is so good to us, and they've been taking care of us. We got some of our people that really want to restore Hawaiian sovereignty. They want to recover lost Hawaiian sovereignty. So that's what you got. You got that tug of war. All right. They're all conscious. They're all conscious of their Hawaiian history. They're all conscious of that. So unlike here with us, most of our people are not conscious. All of them are conscious. All of them are conscious of what? Their queen. All of them are conscious of what happened to their queen. All of them are conscious of who they are. But the issue is, the United States has been taking care of us. All right? So did I clear that off for y'all?
Yeah, clear.
Super duper.
Windex.
Absolute.
That'd be like kind of our people. Like it's like food stamps for us. So there's like you wouldn't want to like have a garden.
Yeah, that's it. Good example.
Like food.
Yeah, good example. Yep.
Thank you for that explanation. Sure, I
Oh,
appreciate
you're welcome. I thank you for the comment, but I just wanted to provide clarity. Like I said, once you bring the comment out, I have to provide clarity for it, because then it just lays out there. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want that. So what I'll do is I'll put those links that I put in the chat 2 weeks ago, and it's easy for me to find them. I sent it to Mafi. I text all of the Mafi. I just go to what I text them and I put them in the chat. I'm gonna do that right now. All right.
Wow.
No.
All right. I'm gonna continue when you left off. So this is a NAACP charter. We're gonna read what's in their charter. Whoever doesn't know the acronym for NAACP, I believe it's Negro Advancement. I forgot the other A for colored people. Now we just read the law definition of colored person. None of these are nationalities. These are pseudo terms, and it means you have no standing in law. So the NAACP is for people that don't know their nationality, culture. It's an organization for them. So let's read the charter. NAACP is a 501c4, meaning it's a typo. It's 501c3, meaning it's been given special privileges and tax exemption under the IRS, which Inquisition Revenue Service, today Internal Revenue Service. I would recommend everybody look up the Spanish Inquisition so you can see what the Inquisition was about as far as conquering lands of indigenous people through the Spanish Inquisition. Anywho, attorneys for the United States under oath have stated that the IRS is not part of any government agency, meaning there are foreign, private, for-profit corporation companies. Here's Article 3 organizational structure for the NAACP. Bylaws for units of the NAACP, revised February 2014, per capita assessment for state area conferences. The national office will provide a per capita membership match for state area conferences at the rate of 25 cents per member of each unit, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this is the highlighting factor. Units may not own real property. No unit, entity, or affiliate may own or maintain or acquire any equitable interest in real property, right? So, under wardship, minority status, color of person, your political status is a ward. So therefore, property, your property, and property can't own property. Just and to add on what the brother was saying earlier. Why can't colored people own property? Because property can't own property. Remember, status. I don't know if y'all remember the brother read the law definition of status. Your nationality determines your political status. And then we read status. Status determines your relationship with your estate. Property can't own property. So you need to have, being a proper person, being an organization or nation state, and acquire property through trust, etc. Remember, status equals estate. Estate is land. Black and colored people are civilly dead on the civilly dead status. Your nationality identifies, establishes your status, and your consciousness is your ability to invoke or call into force your rights, as well as your ability to govern your own affairs. That's the key. That's the main key. Manage your own land and property. Trust law, passing things down to a beneficiary. Revocable, irrevocable. And able to inherit. Right? These are all in play. The entire civil rights movement is a fraud. They operate off pure emotions and generate finance, such as BLM is another example. Just to pacify us emotionally, but it goes strictly to George Soros and the crew. None of that money goes to anybody to help nobody. It just looks good, right? The entire civil rights movement is a fraud. They operate off pure emotions and generate finance that does not help the people in any way. Think about this. The Declaration of Independence clearly states that we already have rights as men are born free and equal. Governments are instituted among men to secure pre-existing rights, not to give any. So not only is the government a waste of time, or that movement a waste of time, speaking of the NAACP specifically, they don't understand government because they're asking an artificial entity to operate in a capacity and with sovereign power that it does not have, or cannot and will not have. Meaning governments cannot, and will not confer, grant, or issue any rights. Note, the word man does not exclusively mean masculine. It is a proven fact that woman is the first man as well, as all men come through her. Therefore, the word man includes woman. And in its first instance, it means woman. So a case was brought up dealing with how the IRS is not part of the United States. So that case was Diversified Metal Products Incorporated versus T-Bow Company Trust, Internal Revenue Service, and Steve Morgan. And in that case, it was stated in the records or ruled that it denies that the Internal Revenue Service is an agency of the United States. So the IRS has nothing to do with the United States. But it admits that the United States of America will be proper party of this action. It admits that the IRS has served a notice of levy on plaintiff for funds owed to the defendant. Now, when we go to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, only people that can levy taxes is Congress. How can a non-government agency grant anyone tax-exempt status when the Constitution clearly states Congress has the power to regulate commerce and levy tax, Article 1, Section 8. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Any law to the contrary, notwithstanding. A quote from the Bible, Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Right? This is what these phrases indicate. Here's an excerpt from Are You in Denial of your ancestry. The Niagara Falls was named after the mass murdering of women. The women were beheaded and thrown over the falls and referred to as Nigger Falls. So we're talking about the area of, I believe, Minnesota, the Great Lakes area, that area, dealing with the Pontiac Wars and things of that nature of our people. Hence, the original name of now NAACP was originally called the Niagara Movement. It was infiltrated and rose again as the NAACP governed by Europeans. To this day, the new rules and bylaws state the NAACP can never own property. We basically just read that. Note, keep in mind that the Beaver War, the Pontiac Wars, inclusive of the Northwest Ordinance, this is something that everybody needs to look up, Northwest Ordinance of 1787, are all related to the Great Lake area and mistreatment of our people. They are probably, quote, here's a quote, there are probably not many who are aware that the Supreme Court ruled that the 14th and 15th Amendment is unconstitutional in 1863. And the 14th Amendment, like we read in the Divine Warning, Noble Drew Ali said the 14th Amendment is not necessary for the salvation of our people because the 14th Amendment is dealing with artificial person, granting citizenship, rights and privileges, right? Yet the so-called Black leaders keep pulling the people into activities involving those amendments. This is part of why they don't work. Since the 14th Amendment was ruled unconstitutional, not valid in 1863, anyone who continues to utilize them is admitting to not having citizenship rights. This is why the civil rights movement has not gotten anywhere. The leaders of those civil rights movements will continue to push civil rights marches and protests while referencing the civil rights amendments that they think are valid. Yet, they have never given people the Constitution itself to read, to utilize, or exercise. I wonder if they themselves as leaders have ever read the Constitution. Surely, if they have not, they can not lead any people. That would be an example of the blind leading the blind. We keep looking for things and the benefits of things without making the investment of the thing. This hypocritical, and irresponsible behavior on our part. This is why we were stripped of our nationality. Humans are identified by nationalities, free national names, that corrects your status to a certain degree, as your consciousness and ability to do what you know elevates your status continually. Our nationalities were stripped from us to remove us from our proper political and civil status as nationals. Now we collectively have no knowledge of its importance, and that removes us from the higher political sovereign status than that of the European in our homeland, who was falsely referred to as white. I'll go into the definition of free white person and transition and conclude with the Quran and close out. White is a sovereign status. It does not mean Caucasian, Aryan, or Indo-European race. The status only applies to Europeans who are mixed with other nationals such as Moors. To those whom the status applies to, it also includes their descendants, regardless of geographical location. So here's the definition of free white person. We're dealing with the Law Dictionary. It includes European Jews more intermixed with Moorish inhabitants or different clans of Moors. And it also goes to say it does not mean Caucasian race or modern European, blonde or blue-eyed people. That's a status. Black is not a nationality, white is not a nationality. These are political status. So the Moors will be considered white, or the home team of any nation will be status of white. Japanese in Japan, status white. Chinese in China, status white, etc. All right. Any questions on that? The transition? And I know a couple new people in here. Any questions, statements on that? Empress
No,
Day.
I was wrong.
Okay. The Empress Day. Who else would be kind of? Oh, Brother DL. Any questions, statements?
No correction.
Empress 9L. Any thoughts, statements, questions? Trey L. Everybody good?
Yeah, I'm good right now.
Okay. So this is the Quran, Circle 7 Quran, divinely prepared by Noble Jew Ali. We're dealing with the holy instructions from the Prophet, dealing with the instability of man. Inconstancy is powerful in the heart of man. Intemperance swayeth it whither it will. So inconstancy, dealing with inconsistency. It's a synonym for inconstancy. Despair engrossed much of it, and fear proclaimeth, behold, I sit unrivaled therein, but vanity is beyond them all. Weep not therefore at the calamities of the human state, right? The imperfections of the flesh, of the carnal. Rather, laugh at its follies. In the hands of man addicted to vanity, life then is but the shadow of a dream. The hero, the most renowned of human character, what is he? But the bubble of this weakness. The public is unstable and ungrateful. Why should the man of wisdom endanger himself for fools? The man who neglecteth his present concerns to revolve, how he will behave when greater feedeth himself with wind, while his bread is eaten by another. Act as becometh thee in thy present station, and in more exalted ones thy face shall not be ashamed. What blindeth the eye, or what hideth the heart of a man from himself, like vanity? Lo, when thou seest thyself, then other discover thee most plainly. As the tulip that is gaudy without smell, conspicuous without use, so is the male who sitteth himself up so high and not merit. So a person that just is cocky, boastful, but no merit, right, is equivalent to a tulip that you can't smell. The whole point of picking up a flower and looking at it is just, it's beautiful, it smells good, but you don't have no smell, it's useless. It's on the same footing as somebody just talking about how great they are, but they got no merit. The heart of the vain is troubled, while it seemeth content. His cares are greater than his pleasures. His solitude cannot rest with his bones. The grave is not deep enough to hide it. He extendeth his thoughts beyond his being. He bespeaketh praise to be paid when he is gone, but whoever promised it deceiveth him. As the man who engaged his wife to remain in widowhood, that she disturb not his soul, so is he who expected that his praise shall reach his ears beneath the earth, or cherish his heart in shroud. Do well while you liveth, but regard not what is said of it. Content thyself with deserving praise, and thy posterity shall rejoice in hearing it. So be humble. Be humble. Do things of merit. Do great work. Don't worry about the fame and nobility. If that come, it's going to come based on you being honorable and you being consistent and doing great work. That comes with the territory. As the butterfly who seeth not his own colors, as the jasmine which filleth not the scent it cast around it, so is the man who appeareth gay or appeareth happy, and biddeth others to take note of it. To what purpose, saith he, is my vesture of gold? To what end are my fables filled with dainties, if no eyes gaze upon them, if the world knows it not? Give thy raiment to the naked, and thy food unto the hungry, so shalt thou be praised and feel that thou deservest. Why bestoweth thou in every man the flattery of unmeaning words? Right, so you're just telling people what they want to hear. Why do that? Speak truth to people. Thou knowest when return thee that thou regardeth not. So the person you flattering, oh man, you look like you lost a lot of weight. Clearly the person didn't lose weight. They know you trying to gas them up. They're gonna look at you like you unsincere from this point on. Oh, this man walking around just trying to gas me up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Speak in sincerity, and thou wilt hear with instruction. The vain delighteth to speak of himself, but he seeth not that others like not to hear him. So a person you just so vain and cocky that you don't even realize the people around you is looking at you like, man, this dude right here. You don't even you so blind to that because you so full of yourself. If he have done anything worth praise, if he possesseth that which is worthy of admiration, his joy is to proclaim it, his pride to hear it reported. The desire of such a man defeateth himself. Men say not, behold what he hath done, or see, he possesseth it, but mark how proud he is of it. The heart of man cannot attend at once to too many things. That go back to, they promote in this society, be a jack of all trades. You spreading yourself too thin. You got to be great at something. One thing you got to be great at. He who fixeth his soul on show loseth reality. He pursueth bubbles which break in their flight, while he treads to earth what would what would honor. So that was a chapter titled Holy Instruction from the Prophet, the instability or the inconsistency of man. So the inconsistency of man, you're going to be inconsistent when you're vain, your heart chakra is not pure. I want to open up the floor for any thoughts on this chapter. Any thoughts, statements?
I would go back to what we was reading earlier about polarization, about Aries. You could be Hitler or, Nobel Ali, as far as like love, and using that authority that, it's not really authority because the people, give you the people would have to give Hitler that trust or authority to him for him to represent them. He took it and ran the other way. And the prophet, polarized the instability within himself and then used what Allah gave him for his personal benefit. So, yeah, that's kind of what I thought about. Use your areas energy wise. When you're unstable, what I'm saying, polarize yourself.
Wow. Any other thoughts, statements, comments on this chapter? All right. So we can close out in the prayer here. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, my salvation by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Amen. So I want to, that's officially closing out the meeting officially, but I wanted to say I've made contact with the I don't know his title, but he's over the Unified School Districts over here. And I've sent him my presentation for the 11th to 12th graders. So sometime in February, we'll be, whoever's free, we'll like to have as many people from the organization pull up, Fed and Turban, or Fez, Turban, whatever, and make our presence felt for the youngsters as we give them a demonstration. So that's next on the agenda. And then March, what'd you say, brother Benjamin?
So they may think you wanted the 12th grade.
They gonna think I wanted the 12 what?
Yeah, they may think you wanted the 12th graders in there trying to teach. Like, what do you think he is up here trying to teach us? Like, but that's legit though.
Yeah. So we got that potentially in February, and in March, the Iranian community that we touched bases with on Wednesday at the Chamber of Commerce. they invited us to another event in March. It's gonna be about 4,000 or 5,000 people there. So, you know, all the more in Cali, you know, just free up your schedule. If you can be there, let's pull up. You know, the more we grow as we go to these events, the better. And on another note, like I said, we're gonna follow up with a couple people that we met as well. That's the mission for today and tomorrow. Me and the Empress gonna go over that. And whoever got business cards that we didn't get, let's touch bases too and contact those people as well. Any other thoughts before we officially close out here?
I have a question. When is the event in March? We
I
have
got-
like a date?
Yeah, I gotta look at the flyer thing, but yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. We'll figure it out today.
That
though.
way we can kind of, okay, that way we kind of just plan out ahead what we need to get together.
Any other how you feel, Empress Day? How you feel about the information you heard today?
No, it's gonna take a minute for me to digest it. So, yeah, a Nimrod, I didn't know about that. I thought the whole Christmas tree thing had something to do with him sexually, and I thought it was weird. Only thing I knew, or what I thought I knew about Nimrod. So there's a lot of things that you said that debunked what I have, you know, been taught. So I just had to do some research and let it process.
I'm glad it was enlightening. And
Very enlightening. That's a good word.
yeah, you know, so you know, the organization, our goal is to expand, and we can expand by our members being competent and kind of like how I met you, being out in the public with a sound mind. We're not just radical and like trying to convert people. We just come and just talk on people with, you know, and we want to build a nucleus of like in the Divine Warning, genius citizens, genius members of our community, and as we continue to grow. Like I said, we all do temple dues, so that means our treasury will grow. That means we're active. We're meeting other people that may help push our political agenda. They might got grant money for us. You never know the possibilities of you know, us being solid. Our solidarity has a lot of perks, you know, to being united. You know, it's a good look, you know. So yeah, I'll do one more round for thoughts, statements, anything, concerns before we close.
Oh, well.
All right. Well, peace and love, everybody. Hope everybody has a good rest of their day. And everybody
Peace
that
and love.
feel free to reach out to
Peace,
me.
Morris.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Thank you.
Long.
Islamism, peace and love.
Love everyone.
Peace and love. All right.